President Tubu has no pathway to win. He cannot win. In fact, he'll be lucky if he's third. Okay?
Now, suppose we replace the idea or the apprehension that there are people that want to Islamize Nigeria to there are people that want to Fulanize Nigeria. And by Fulanizing is by redirecting the instrument of power to the hands of the Fulanis. Now, let me take you to a small journey. Part of this journey I had described before. During Jonathan and Buhari, remember the infamous statement that the dogs and...
Hello, what's up guys? In this video, we are diving into something that will shake the table ahead of 2027. Things are moving faster than anyone expected. And the twist, it is not just politics as usual. This is an agenda many are too scared to discuss. For years, people have spoken about an Islamization plot in Nigeria. But what if that's not the real game? What if Islam is just the peg, a tool to hold something far bigger in place? What if the true plan is a Fulanization agenda, shifting the instrument of power straight into the hands of the Fulani elite? Now, before you roll your eyes, think back. Former President Jonathan, do you remember when he stood almost alone? The Southwest media painted him as weak, a drunk, a sheep, and the infamous dogs and baboons soaked in blood statement was flying around. Nobody wanted to listen. Then Buhari came in. We saw cattle ranch policies, ruga schemes, livestock projects, and a series of government-backed initiatives. Different names, different packaging, but allegedly one end game: to cement Fulani dominance in Nigeria's political structure. And now, as 2027 approaches, whispers are growing louder. Could power be shifting again in the same direction? Are we watching the early moves of a carefully planned strategy? Or is this just coincidence wrapped in politics? Mark Busoraka has broken this down in even more details in his own words, and we have attached his full clip in this video so you can hear it straight from him. Guys, I will let you watch this video for yourself so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Take a look, guys, and remember to share your thoughts after watching.
You know, I've been looking at events leading to the 2027 general election, and I must say that things are happening faster and earlier than we have anticipated. Before now, election campaigns or election anxieties would have started long before now, but it appears the mischief and greeds, in fact, the whole narrative leading to the 2027 election has a twisted perspective or a twisted irony associated with it. And I will need you to be patient and hear me out. Everything I'm going to say is allegedly, and they might be a figment of my own imagination, but hey, perhaps if you pay a close attention, you might just understand where I'm coming from, right? Okay. Now, we've always said Islamization Nigeria. There are people bent on Islamizing Nigeria. So I've been thinking, suppose we are describing the narrative using the wrong words. Suppose it is actually a Fulanization agenda and not an Islamization agenda. Islam to me is just like a peg. You know, when you wash your clothes and you anticipate there's going to be wind, you use peg to hold your clothes on the line so that the wind does not take your clothes away. Suppose Islam is merely a peg that is aimed at holding you together so that the wind does not take your ideology away. You see, the most difficult thing to re-educate is an ideology. Now, suppose we replace the idea or the apprehension that there are people that want to Islamize Nigeria to there are people that want to Fulanize Nigeria. And by Fulanizing is by redirecting the instrument of power to the hands of the Fulanis. Now, let me take you to a small journey. Part of this journey I had described before. During Jonathan and Buhari, remember the infamous statement that the dogs and the baboons will be soaked in blood. And Jonathan, at that time, felt he was alone. Nobody wanted to hear from him because the Southwest media have already described him as a weak, drunkard, sheep, and all the negative narrative. I don't want to go back so that I don't elongate this video longer than it is necessary. But we all know, right? Okay. Then Buhari came into power. Remember all the cattle ranch, all the ruga, all the livestock, whatever, and all the nomenclatures invented just to establish the Fulani dominance in Nigeria. I will still not forget a particular video I saw where Buhari opened the borders for myriads of Fulani indigenous, non-skilled workers, non-skilled individuals that trooped into Nigeria. Where are they? There was a time that we had them on the streets, running after you, using their children to run after you, dragging your clothes to give them money. Suddenly, they have disappeared. No, they have not disappeared. They've blended in perfectly with you. Now, the whole idea of a Fulanization is to put Nigeria in a place where they can command and control. Now, let us leave history and come to the present situation we have. You know, I've been asking myself, Atiku and Rufai, what game are they really playing? Because I'm made to be aware that Atiku and Rufai met Buhari before he passed on. What was it they discussed? The whole idea of setting up this coalition, what's the idea? Now, when you add that to the fact that people are wooing Jonathan to come and to contest for the presidency, of course, Jonathan will not win. And if Jonathan is going to come across this video, let me just tell him, Jonathan, you will not win. Everything is just aimed at split. You know, sometimes I wonder, I hope it's a mere rumor because Jonathan has not. I think with the viral nature of this news, I believe if it's a lie, Jonathan should have come to debunk it. But for Jonathan to remain silent, that means there may be an element of truth to it. But if it is truth, I would advise Jonathan not to do it because that will mean that I don't even know the right word to describe that would mean we are so cheap. You have finished. Your time has come and has gone. Be a statesman that you are. You are respected all over the world. Don't come and risk being reduced by contesting an election that you are not guaranteed to win. And why is it that the northern cabal will always use us in the south to destroy ourselves? Why is it that they don't want Obi? I will tell you for free. The Fulani cabal knows that a Peter Obi will upset the whole system, will change the whole formula, everything about what held the Fulani supreme. He will change it. I can assure you, when a Fulani man is running after a Southern and come and be a president, Amechi, come and be a president, good luck, come and be a president, they are running after those they can control. If I tell you the main reason why they don't want Peter Obi, it's not because he's an Igbo man. Well, that may be there, but that is not the main reason. The main reason is that if this man becomes president, we can't control him. That is just it. We can't control. For those who are saying Peter Obi is weak, no. If you look at the how do I put it, the urgency with which they want power to come back to the north after spending just 2 years, you could see. Look, I'm going to say something that most Tinubu supporters may be happy that, hey, after all, what has said this. Look, if not for Tinubu's attitude and his corrupt tendencies and his criminal nature, I want to say Tinubu understand. Tinubu is playing back every game the Fulanis have played in Nigeria. He's playing back everything. In fact, he's playing it back better. But the only problem is that he didn't carry everybody along. He has Yorubanized the whole agenda. As soon as he carried everybody along, you know, for they behind that 100%. but he made it a Yoruba thing, which is more or less like a Yoruba version of the Fulani agenda. And we don't want any tribal agenda in Nigeria. So, what is happening is that a Peter Obi is the biggest cog in the wheel of the agenda of the Fulani man. Even those, our Hausa brothers that are saying that they've been reawakened, they are not really, they realize, yes, that the Fulani, this merger with Fulanis have not benefited us. Time to revolt against this union. But the biases they've sown in your heads over the years, hate the Igbos, hate the Christians, part of it are still there. So it will do well for you to, obliterate or delete those biases. Then we'll be sure that truly you have been awakened. But right now, if there's any meeting that has been made to say that an Igbo man will not be president, you let us know so that we'll keep our peace. Because obviously we can't continue the way we are. Just because somebody belongs to a certain region, a certain ethnicity, a certain religion, it doesn't matter if he has all the good underpinnings to turn this country around and say, no, we should not vote for him, we should vote for thieves and criminals because they belong to the acceptable tribe, the acceptable regions, the acceptable religion. No, Nigeria cannot work like that. A Fulani man ruled this country for 8 years. It is sheer preposterously it is a sheer preposterous effrontery. I sabi this English. It is a sheer preposterous effrontery for another Fulani man to be showing his attention after 2 years. Now there must be something there. There must be something. And if you are a Nigerian, you are, to be very frank, all those kicking against Peter Obi, yes, I'm not happy, but I'm not angry with you. You are just a victim of a narrative that have shaped your mind over the years to hate a certain tribe. You're just a victim. Your mind is a victim of narratives shared to you that, Igbos will break this country. I will not allow it. You're just a victim. So with that, I feel pity for you. But for me, I want a country where I can fill my car, I can go to the market and feed my family. I don't necessarily want anything from the government except a good life. A leader that can bring policies that I can physically see that is transforming this country. So what do you want? For us to continue in this feeding and eating on propaganda that bears no physical development on us, or to embrace genuine development that you can actually see? The choice is yours. My name is Magnus Soraka. Please follow this page and share this post now.
You are obviously the person everybody wants to talk to, but let me talk generally first of all before I come to you in particular, because we've had different scenarios now about what political vehicle the opposition coalition will use to challenge and attempt to face down President Tubu in 2027. One was to use existing parties such as the SDP that you're now a part of, or the ADC, or to register a completely new party, which they are now trying to do. Which in that chain of possibility is the most plausible?
Well, look, Charles, you don't go to war with only one plan. So very early in our discussions, the leaders of the coalition took the decision that we'll not only look for existing platforms and identify one that is suitable for all of us to go under one roof, but we'll also explore the possibility of registering a brand new party. Many of the leaders believe that registering a brand new party is the least risky of the propositions. Because
do you believe that?
I think so. I think a brand new party doesn't have any legacy problems or any viruses injected, because what the government, the ruling party and the government have been doing is to create problems in the opposition parties by recruiting and financing viruses to multiply. This is what is happening in the Labour Party, the PDP, and even the NNPP. So many of the leaders expressed concern that perhaps the best way to avoid this, you are dealing with a mischievous government and party that is totally immoral. They will do anything to eliminate all opposition is to register a brand new party. And the Constitution and the Electoral Acts are very, very clear about the qualification for registering a new party. Many of us do not believe that under the current leadership of INEC, a new party will be registered, because Dr. Mahmoud Yakubu is not Jega, and President Tubu is not Jonathan. Okay, those were the people in charge when the APC was registered, and many were pessimistic about the prospects of registering a new party. But we said, let's try it anyway. Let's show.
Right.
Let's show that, INEC is not independent.
Right.
Let's show that this government is interfering to ensure there is no opposition.
But
so we're pursuing both paths. Right. And if both become available, then the leadership will then sit down and consult and take their views to the plenary, and a decision will be taken.
Right, but some would argue that that's not an entirely fair assessment to INEC, because INEC, from what I understand, has many new applications for parties.
They have over 100 applications.
That are ahead of the ADA.
Yeah.
So it might take a very long time for INEC to get to the ADA, and it might look a bit partial if the Commission skipped the other ones in favor of registering the ADA right away.
Look, it is not a queuing system. The way these things should work is that any party that is registered will get assigned a set of officers. The requirements in the Constitution that have been repeatedly upheld in the Supreme Court are very simple. They are very easy to meet. So, you don't need the entire INEC to queue 100 applications and say, oh, we'll finish A before we come to Z. You assign teams, and look, we've project managed things like that. You can do this in no time if you want to do it. Of course, they will give those excuses, but we don't believe it. We don't believe that. And when the timelines in the Electoral Act and the Constitution are very clear. There are a number of days that INEC must respond and say, this is the defect in your application. Otherwise, the Constitution says, you are deemed to have been registered. So INEC is treading on a very narrow path here. It has an opportunity to show its independence, and it should prove its skeptics wrong. But there are opposing views, but the coalition decided that will be pursued, and that's why you saw the application.
Right.
And in that
it's a collective decision.
It was a collective decision.
Right, because what we are hearing is, to the public, it looks like there are sort of divisions within this opposition coalition about what the best way forward is, that these are not, because you're not talking about parties coming together, like we saw.
It's not a merger.
You're talking about sort of...
We're looking for one platform to all go into. No. A decision was taken, to set up committees to engage with existing platforms, as well as another committee to get all the efforts. Already in the coalition, there are about 3 groups that have made attempts to register their own party. So we said, look, come together, harmonize, and come up with one name, one party, one logo, one constitution, and they came at the last meeting. We were briefed on the name and the symbol and so on, and that team was given the go-ahead to proceed with the registration. Some leaders in the coalition prefer a new party, as I said, while some feel that we should just go into an existing party and start organizing, because the main battle begins when we have a platform.
Sure.
This is all preliminaries.
That implies that your presence in the SDP is very temporary. That you're going to leave the SDP, assuming the ADA gets registered.
When I joined the SDP, I made it clear in my statement that even though I'm in the SDP, just like every other, Atiku Abubakar is still in the PDP, Peter Obi has not officially left Labour Party, but we all agreed that if we have consensus on a platform, we are going to give up our own legacy parties and focus on that platform. We are still not there yet. The leadership will receive a report on the engagement with the SDP as well as the other party, and then a decision will be taken. I strongly believe that the SDP is the best platform for the coalition. It has a history, it has a legacy, it has a sentimental value, and everything about it is almost perfect. The name, the logo, everything. It has a history, and I'm advocating for that amongst my colleagues. But it will be a collective decision.
Right. And if that collective decision is made, you will be happy to leave the SDP and join the AD.
I will do whatever I can to ensure that we unite under one platform.
Right. So whatever happens, just to be clear, whatever happens with your considerable political firepower, and let's be honest, you have quite a bit of it, the impetus for you will lie with whatever party the collective consensus decides is going to be the vehicle.
Yes, I believe in that very strongly. I believe that the unity, look, Nigerians are tired of the APC. We know that, we have polled that. There is 91% disapproval of this administration across the country, 91% disapproval. It's the worst in Nigeria's history. But Nigerians are looking for a credible option. Yeah, but they want to see people coming together, putting aside their differences and ambitions, and giving them an alternative to this failure of a government.
But that's the key thing. Can you put aside your personal ambitions?
You've got
yourself, you've got Atiku Abubakar, you've got Peter Obi, you've got Rotimi Amechi. You have so many big political, wigs with huge, ambitions.
Big names does not equate ambitions. Okay, you've mentioned my name. I have no ambition. Okay, I just feel that having contributed to bringing about this tragedy to Nigeria by contributing to the emergence of Bola Tinubu as president, I should contribute in my last lap, okay? Because I'm 65, I should be retiring. In my last lap, let me contribute towards removing this evil that I believe will destroy Nigeria if left unchecked.
Right, but the problem, of course, is that the PDP, Labour, the SDP, in their own right as already functioning political parties that make up part of the opposition, are not officially part of this new party, the ADA.
No.
And is there likely to be rivalry between them, or at the very least a rather complicated relationship? Because for you to really pose a challenge to President Tinubu, you need to be united.
Yes, but you see, the mistake that most people make is that they think that what we are trying to do is similar to what we did in 2013 with the APC. It is not. Parties are not involved in this discussion. Okay, the opposition groups are led by individuals. Okay, Vice President Atiku Abubakar has a group of people from PDP. Some are not. Some are even from APC. There is a group led by the trio of Rauf Aregbesola, Emeka Nwajiba, and Abubakar Malemi, former Buhari ministers. And this group has membership across all parties. Peter Obi has his group from Labour Party as well as the PDP and so on. But it is the leaders of these groups that are in the discussion. We are not bringing parties together. We are not engaged in a merger. I am part of the leadership, but I'm not there representing SDP. I'm there as an individual with some political weight, no matter how small, in my state or in the Northwest. Okay, so this is how all the groups, how the coalition is formed. It has nothing to do with parties. But we all agreed that if we're able to come to a consensus about a political party to go into, we will leave our parties and join with all our followers. That is the understanding.
Sure, of course, the political party consensus is the first step, isn't it? The second step is who's going to actually be the presidential candidate of the party.
First you need a party. Every party has its constitution and rules. It is the rules of the party that will determine how the primaries will be carried out, how the congresses will be carried out, that will lead to the emergence of party leadership as well as candidates for the election. That is a second or third step. We are not even talking about that. This is why I feel quite empowered and encouraged by the attitude of the leadership, because nobody is talking about his aspiration.
So they're all checking each other out.
Well, I'm sure they would. I mean, we are politicians. We are students of power. So yes, they will do that. But nobody is talking about, I want to be the president, or leave this for me, and so on. Everybody is saying we have a problem. This country is targeted for destruction by a collection of urban bandits. Let's come together, send them back home and put this country back on track.
Well,
it is about fixing the country. Nobody is talking about this ambition. And that has been very good so far, and I'm encouraged.
Right. Well, I'm going to come back to that issue in a moment of you. In other words, I'm going to try and get your current argument against the Tinubu administration and your former party, the APC. But I'll ask you a question that has been going around in media circles and which my colleagues on the morning show posed earlier today. And that is why it is that whenever a southerner is there, that's when this issue of coalition comes up. When President Jonathan was in office, that was when coalition came up with the APC, and now Tinubu is in office and it's come up again. What are your thoughts on that?
I never thought about that. I don't care about that. The reason why the Jonathan coalition came up was as a result of two developments. First, the feeling that Jonathan was not governing the country very well, okay? Second, Jonathan made a commitment not to run in 2015. So he had problems even within his own party. The third, okay, was simply we realized, those of us in small parties, opposition parties at the time, CPC, ANPP, ACN, we realized that unless we came together, okay, step by step, election cycle after election cycle, the PDP will be destroying us in bits and pieces. So it was an act of self-preservation in the first instance for the political parties. That's why three major political parties decided we must come together, okay? The second, of course, was the feeling that, you know, Jonathan was doing a bad job, let's get him out. I don't think it has anything to do with North or South.
But you supported President Buhari in 2019.
Yes.
And for many people, he simply didn't deliver.
Yes.
I mean, you supported Tinubu in 2023, and
Yes.
now you're saying he's not delivering.
Yes.
So how can we trust that the person you supported in 2027 can deliver?
You don't have to. Don't trust what I say. It looks like I'm not very good at picking successful presidents, so don't trust me if I say vote for Charles Aniagolu. Look at your situation, look at yourself and ask yourself whether the person that I'm campaigning for or the person that I'm supporting to be president will be better than what you have now. Life, human affairs, life is all about relativity. You have to ask yourself, will this man do a better job? When we supported Bola Ahmed Tinubu for president, we were under the mistaken impression that he will be better.
I was going to ask you about that because I wanted to get into why you supported him so totally, because I remember interviewing you during that period. I mean, there was, many people would say that there was never anything about him that really inspired people to believe that he could really change this country dramatically. He didn't take part in any debates that brought some new insight. He wasn't particularly charismatic, and many people didn't see anything in his DNA that made him particularly stand out. Was there something about him that you detected that separated him from the pack as far as you were concerned and made you support him so totally in 2023?
Okay, so let me respond to that in two steps, okay? Because, you know, it's very easy for non-politicians to analyze this thing as one continuing narrative. But actually, the way the thought process works is this, okay? And this is how it worked in 2022. For us, as northern APC governors, the first concern we had was after 8 years of Buhari, power should go to the south. We believe that there was such an understanding in our party. We were part of the formation of the party, and we felt that that was an honorable thing that must be upheld. So that was the first step. So we didn't start by saying we want A or B to be president. We just said, look, power should go to the south. That was the first step. The second step is, now that power has gone to the south, who do we support that we think will have a chance of winning? Okay? Because you want your party to win. You want to be the party in power. And lots of calculations went into that. And Bola Tinubu became the beneficiary of that. But we didn't start with supporting a candidate. No. And I want to say that it was the support of the governors of the Northwest Northeast and North Central. That was decisive in deciding the outcome of the primaries as well as the election. Of course, Bola Tinubu's puppeteers are now denying that. They are saying all kinds of things, and they will learn their lesson in 2027. Okay, but this is how it started. Now, for me personally, because you asked me, Bola Tinubu was never someone I was close to, even in the party, because in the party I was a Buhari boy. Bola has his boys, Buhari had his boys. We are Buharis, no apologies. So Bola Tinubu never really liked me. We never really got along. The person that I got along with was Baba Akande, and I was his deputy national secretary. We were among the first leaders of the party. As far as I was concerned, once Bola Tinubu got the ticket of the party, it was my duty as a party man to do my best to deliver him in Kaduna, and wherever I see that there is a potential problem that I can solve to ensure his election, I will do that. Is he perfect? No. Some people said Bola Tinubu is not his name. Nobody knows his birth date for sure. Nobody knows who his parents are for sure. There are all kinds of questions.
And that didn't bother you at the time?
It did bother me because I know my name, I know my parents, I know my birth date, I know I have classmates, okay, and there are no questions about whether I graduated from Ahmad Bello University or not, okay. All those questions were there about about Tinubu. But for me, the question was, he was governor of Lagos, yes? How did he govern Lagos? He governed Lagos in a very inclusive manner. He had an Igbo guy as a commissioner. He had another Hausa man from Daura as one of his special advisors. In Lagos, in 1999, that was almost unique. He ran an inclusive government. After winning the elections with the Agberos and all that, he went and got the Cardosos, Wale Eduns, Yemi Osinbanjos from the private sector to come and help him run the government. So he did a decent job in governing Lagos. That's the only thing we know about him as far as governing is concerned. You know, Charles, every saint has a past. Every sinner has a future, okay? The way I looked at it is, well, look, he did a decent job in Lagos. Lagos has improved. You can't deny that. He laid a foundation. Many people have issues about how he held on to Lagos and so on and so forth. But the place is improving. If he can do half of that on a pan-Nigeria level, this country will move forward. So I said, look, he's the candidate of the party. I will support him. I will do everything to ensure he wins. So that's my explanation.
Right.
Now, fast forward.
He's failed you.
Fast forward.
As you say.
He has. Look, the one thing I was almost confident President Tinubu would be to have a competent team, solid people. Look at his cabinet. It's a joke. The largest cabinet in Nigeria's history. Maybe there are 5 ministers that can be called ministers in the time I was minister, which was 20 years prior. Okay. Who is the Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala in that cabinet? Who is the Obi Ezekwesili? You know, there is just no quality. As I said, apart from about 5
you could ask
the
same question. Yeah. Who is the Nasir El-Rufai?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to go to that level.
Well, the reason I bring that up is that a lot of people will be saying that you're saying these things because you didn't make it into the cabinet when you expected to do so. And I'm wondering if that, what some interpreted as a slap in the face for you, is what is motivating you, and whether, let me just make this point, whether or not there could be, because I mean, he dropped you, which after all the effort you made on his behalf, and I'm wondering whether there could be an even bigger political price to pay for you for going for the president's political jugular this time. Because when you supported him, he cast you aside. And now this time you're opposing him. Could there be a bigger political price to pay for you?
There may be. I don't care. That's me, okay? Now, let's go back to that. You know, Charles, anytime I wake up and I see the Tinubu government inflicting more pain on Nigerians and just bungling governance, the simplest things in governance that I knew when I was DG of BP, these guys can't even get it together. Whenever I see that, I thank God. Because I think God saved me. I'm a very lucky person. I think God saved me from the embarrassment of having to explain to be part of this disaster, okay? So I've never thought twice about it. I never sought to be minister. I was minister 20 years before. That's nothing. Tinubu begged me.
And to your credit, you did a superb job as Minister of Abuja.
Thank you very much.
Everybody would agree to that.
Thank you very much, okay? My record is there, all right? So Tinubu begged me publicly. The videos are there to serve in his cabinet. He requested me to change my personal life plans. Okay? So those that I say is because he dropped me. How can I be unhappy about something that I never sought, it was actually an imposition on me. I had to change my plans, I had to put my PhD on hold, I had to do many things because of his request. So it has not happened, it has not happened. I'm grateful to God that it has not happened because I don't have to explain to Nigerians why electricity is this way, the economy is going this way, the exchange rate is going that way, and so on. I don't have to explain that.
Right. But what is your sense of what the wider public mood is? Because, I mean, you've said that, he's treated the Nigerian people very badly in terms of his policies. I mean, what is your sense of what the wider public mood is? Because it is fair to say that many people may not like Mr. Tinubu, but many of them are undecided and are not necessarily convinced that people like you or Atiku or Obi or Kwankwaso are a better alternative.
Well, we have to ask the people to make up their minds. Do you like what is happening? This is just 2 years, okay? If you're happy with what is happening, if your life has got better since President Tinubu was sworn in on May 29, 2023, fine. But if not, why not give some other people a chance?
Well, the reason I ask that is because, I mean, I'm wondering whether you've carried out any sort of scientific poll to actually determine how popular he is. Because
no,
I remember in 2023,
yes, we have.
When you were sitting where you're sitting now, and I interviewed you,
yes,
and I quoted the polls to you that suggested that Mr. Tinubu was only marginally popular.
Yes.
And you disputed that.
Yes.
But in the end, he could only manage less than a third of the vote, or around a third,
yes,
while the two leading opposition candidates got collectively 2/3 of the vote.
True. Throughout the polling before the 2023 election, we knew that the election was going to be tight, very tight. But we were ahead. We knew we were going to be tight. We have done some polling, and I have mentioned some time ago that in many parts of the country, particularly in the southeast and the north, President Tubu has 91% disapproval rating. Even in Lagos, he has 78% disapproval rating. Okay, in some states,
and that's a scientific poll.
It's a scientific poll,
right.
and in some states in the southwest, he's doing a bit better. Ondo Ekiti, he's doing better than 78% disapproval rating, but there is nowhere he's doing better than 50%. Even in the southwest, the guy is gone. He's performed miserably. The economy has tanked. The security architecture has failed. There are no clear trade, industrial, and investment policies. Everything is going wrong. They are raising lots of revenues, but we don't know where the revenues are going because there are no results.
Well, they say they're giving a lot of that money to the states. And let's face it, development, you were a governor before.
Yeah, the states
are responsible for development.
They are not responsible for all development.
Not all.
States are responsible for education, healthcare, and so on.
Key,
but major infrastructure, electricity, our rail system, our aviation system, the telecom system, is all under exclusively federal so far. So yes, the states are getting more money in Naira terms, but my question is, where are the results? President Tinubu went to Kaduna last week to commission projects. 90% of all the projects he commissioned were the project that I did and took to 90% plus. Okay? No new projects have been initiated and commissioned in 2 years by this administration, even though they have had much more money. So the question is, and I gave the example of Kaduna only because I'm from the state and I know it pretty well and I get a lot of data about what is going on there. But the story is the same in most states of Nigeria. Some governors are trying hard, but frankly, most of them are not doing much with those resources. And the federal oversight is very weak because the president wants all the governors to be in APC.
But they would make the argument that he's only been in office for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, is it fair to assess him based on 2 years?
Of course, it is fair to assess him. He has assessed others based on 1 year. He has assessed others in the past. You see, the beauty of the 21st century is there is an audit trail of what you have said or done. When Jonathan was president and Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu tweets then, as far as security is concerned, the buck stops at the president's desk. You bring that out to him and show him when he tries to say, governor, go and fix your security problem. No, the governor cannot fix security problems because defense, police, security is exclusively federal. As governor, we were chief security officers only in name. Okay, so don't outsource security to the states. Fix it. Hire more boots on the ground, equip them, retool them, and so on. And you know, Charles, for the last 12 months or up to 18 months, every month, 100 billion naira is deducted from the Federation account and sent to the security agencies. Why is there no improvement? In 2024, over 2.2 million Nigerians were abducted. 615,000 were killed. Is Nigeria at war? These numbers are worse than the 8 years of Buhari. In 1 year. This is data from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. So it's government data. I'm not quoting something out of the air. So for that 100 billion that goes out every month from Federation account, without appropriation by the National Assembly, by the way, without appropriation by the state assemblies, because part of the money belongs to the states. So each state assembly is supposed to appropriate that part. So the entire deduction and expenditure is unconstitutional. It's an impeachable offense, but it has been going on for more than 15 months from the last time I checked. So where has that 1.5 trillion gone? What is it being used for? Why is the security situation just getting worse? Why is the government asking communities to protect themselves? Look,
well,
President Tinubu's government has failed woefully. Look, beyond, if you asked me in 2022 or 2023 when we were campaigning that things will ever be this bad, I would say that you are mentally ill.
Very briefly, because we're almost out of time, your political career is now coming out of hold again, because you took a bit of a break after you left the governorship of Kaduna State.
Yes.
But let me ask you again, what position are you aiming to run for in 2027?
I have not made any decision about what position to run for. For me...
But you're thinking about it?
Frankly, yeah, I'm thinking about it. We are discussing with many people, even in the coalition we discussed that. But I have not made any firm decision. For me, priority number one, okay, is to get a person that will improve the quality of governance in Nigeria. If the quality of governance in Nigeria is improved, I will thrive, I will do well, okay? I have an address, I have a profession, I have capabilities. I don't need to be in politics, I don't need to be in public service to thrive. So first order of business is to have a country that is well run, where the resources are applied, where people have a great opportunity to realize their potential. So for me, that's number one, okay? That person also should be able to defeat President Tinubu, because President Tinubu is determined to make this election look as if it is settled. It is not. They are giving the impression through defections and so on as if, this is... It is not. We know, okay? It is not. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I have looked at the numbers, I've looked at the trends of elections. President Tinubu has no pathway to win. He cannot win. In fact, he'll be lucky if he is third, okay?